Tonight, I'm going to tell you about something that once defined what it meant to be human. Something that ancient Americans, from the Arctic to the Amazon, from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic, practiced every single night for thousands of years. Something so fundamental to human experience that losing it has changed us in ways we're only beginning to understand. They didn't watch television, didn't scroll through feeds, didn't fill the night hours with artificial light and endless distraction. Instead, they did something remarkable, something that shaped their dreams, their creativity, their connection to one another and to the invisible world. Something that modern sleep science has now discovered was essential for psychological health, emotional processing, and even spiritual well-being. And here's what makes this truly fascinating. When researchers started studying the few remaining indigenous communities that still practice these night traditions, they found something unexpected. These people report virtually no insomnia, no sleep anxiety, no chronic exhaustion. Their dreams are more vivid, more meaningful, more integrated into their waking lives. But more than that, and this is the part that kept me researching for months, they experience something in the night hours that we've completely forgotten exists. A state of consciousness that's neither waking nor sleeping. A doorway that opens only in darkness and silence. A way of being that our ancestors knew intimately, but that we've lost almost entirely. Tonight, I'm going to take you into that lost world of the night, into the long houses of the Haudenosaunee, the cliff dwellings of the ancestral Puebloans, the winter homes of the Inuit. We're going to discover what they did during those long, dark hours and why it mattered so profoundly. And along the way, I'm going to share 3 specific practices, 3 things you can do tonight, right now, that ancient Americans did every evening, that modern research has shown dramatically improve sleep quality, reduce anxiety, and even enhance dream recall and creativity. The first practice I'll reveal around the 20-minute mark is so simple that you'll wonder why no one ever told you about it. But it works. The ancient Americans knew it worked, and now science knows why. The second practice, which I'll share as we move deeper into the night journey, is more profound. It's about how ancient Americans prepared their minds for sleep, a specific mental ritual that neurologists have recently discovered helps resolve emotional conflicts and process difficult experiences while you sleep. And the third practice, the most powerful one, I'll save for near the end. It's about what ancient Americans did during the hours we now think of as the middle of the night, those hours when we lie awake anxious and frustrated. They had a name for these hours, a purpose for them. And when you understand what they understood, those wakeful hours transform from curse to blessing. But we'll get there. Patience. The night wisdom reveals itself slowly, the way darkness settles over ancient lands, the way trust builds between storyteller and listener. First, let's prepare you for the journey. Find your most comfortable position. And I want you to really think about this. Don't just automatically lie on your back because you think that's how you're supposed to sleep. Your ancestors slept in many different positions, and they listened to their body's wisdom. So feel what your body actually wants right now. Maybe it's curling on your side. Maybe it's lying with one leg bent. Maybe it's even sitting partially upright the way many native peoples did. Honor your body's knowing. Good. Now, dim the lights if you haven't already. Let the room darken toward the kind of night your ancestors knew. Not the orange glow of streetlights or the blue flicker screens, but genuine darkness. The kind of darkness where your eyes begin to see differently, where your inner vision awakens. Take a deep breath with me. In through your nose, draw in the scent of juniper smoke and sage, of pine forest and desert air. Imagining yourself breathing the same air your ancestors breathed in this land, and out through your mouth, releasing frenetic energy of the modern world, the tyranny of constant light, the belief that night hours are wasted hours. Again, in and out, you're about to discover that the night for ancient Americans wasn't just when you slept. The night was sacred time, teaching time, dreaming time, time when the boundaries between visible and invisible grew thin, when ancestors spoke, when visions came, when the deepest truths revealed themselves. They didn't fear the darkness. They didn't fight against it. They welcomed it as a teacher, a companion, a doorway to wisdom that daylight couldn't provide. And tonight, as I share their stories and their practices, as we journey together into the lost world of ancient American nights, you're going to remember something your body and soul have always known, but that modern life made you forget. You're going to remember how to be with the darkness, how to honor it, how to let it teach you what it's always been trying to teach. So settle in now. Let your breathing slow. Let your muscles soften. We have all night. We have thousands of years to explore. And somewhere in this journey between ancient wisdom and modern understanding, between story and sleep, you'll find what you've been seeking. The night is waiting. Your ancestors are waiting. Let's step into darkness together and discover what we've been missing. We begin in what is now upstate New York, perhaps 400 years ago, before European contact fundamentally changed everything. We're entering a Haudenosaunee longhouse. The Haudenosaunee are the people you might know as the Iroquois Confederacy. On a winter evening as darkness settles over the snow-covered forest, the longhouse is large, perhaps 60 feet long, made of elm bark over wooden frames. Inside, several families live together, each with their own fire and space, but all connected, all part of a larger whole. Can you picture it? Can you feel yourself stepping through the entrance, leaving the bitter cold outside? The interior is dimly lit by several fires running down the center of the longhouse. The smoke rises upward, escaping through openings in the roof, creating a haze that softens everything, makes the space feel dreamlike even before anyone sleeps. It's early evening. The day's work is done. The communal meal has been shared. And now, as darkness deepens outside, something remarkable begins to happen. Something we completely lost in modern life. Let me introduce you to someone. We'll call her Sky Woman's daughter. Not her real name, which is lost to time, but a name that honors her people's creation story. She's a woman in her 40s, a mother and grandmother, a keeper of stories and traditions. She's sitting near her family's fire, and her grandchildren are gathered around her. Not because she's forcing them, not because it's scheduled screen time or mandatory family bonding, but because this is what happens every evening, what has happened every evening for as long as anyone can remember, the telling of dreams. You see, in Haudenosaunee culture, and in many ancient American cultures, dreams weren't just random neural firings, weren't just subconscious processing to be ignored or forgotten. Dreams were messages, guidance, prophecy, warnings, gifts from the spirit world. And every evening, before the new night's dreams could come, the previous night's dreams had to be told, interpreted, honored. Sky Woman's daughter begins with her own dream from the night before. She speaks slowly, in the rhythmic cadence of practice storytelling, describing how she dreamed of a white deer that led her to a clearing where 7 fires burned. The children listen raptly, but they're not just being entertained. They're learning a language, the language of symbols, of metaphor, of meaning that exists beneath the surface of things. Her husband offers an interpretation. The 7 fires, he suggests, might represent the 7 clans. The white deer could be an ancestor offering guidance about an upcoming council meeting. Then one of the grandchildren, a boy perhaps 9, shares his dream. He dreamed he was flying over the longhouse, looking down, and he could see through the roof into everyone's fires. Sky Woman's daughter nods thoughtfully. The bird's eye view, she says. Perhaps you're being shown that you need to see the whole, not just your own small part. Perhaps you're being prepared to be a leader who sees all the people, not just your own family. The boy's eyes widen with this possibility. This dream that might have been dismissed in another culture, forgotten by breakfast, becomes instead a teaching of validation, a glimpse of potential future. But here's what's crucial, what makes this practice so powerful. By speaking the dreams aloud, by giving them attention and respect, by integrating them into waking life, the Haudenosaunee people were doing something neuroscience has only recently validated. They were strengthening the connection between their conscious and unconscious minds. They were telling their brains that dreams matter, which causes the brain to produce more vivid, memorable, meaningful dreams. They were processing emotional experiences through symbolic narrative, which is exactly what dreams are designed to do. And more than that, they were creating what psychologists now call psychological safety around the vulnerable, strange, often confusing content of dreams. No one was mocked to their dreams. No one's dream was dismissed as meaningless. Every dream was treated as potentially important, as a message worth considering. This changed how they slept, literally changed the architecture of their sleep. Because when you know your dreams will be honored, when you expect to remember them, when you create a community practice around dreaming, your sleep becomes deeper, your dreams become richer, and the boundary between waking and sleeping becomes more permeable in the most beautiful ways. Modern people who adopt dream-sharing practices report the same effects. Within weeks, their dream recall improves dramatically. Their dreams become more coherent, more story-like, more meaningful. And most surprisingly, they begin to receive guidance through dreams, solutions to problems, insights about relationships, creative breakthroughs. The Haudenosaunee knew this 400 years ago, for 1,000 years ago, for as long as their culture has existed. As the dream sharing continues, as each person in the Longhouse has a chance to speak their dreams if they wish, something else is happening, something subtle but profound. The telling is taking time, an hour, perhaps longer. And during this time, people are sitting in dim firelight, speaking and listening, their bodies still, their minds engaged but not stressed, their nervous systems gradually downshifting from the activation of day toward the quietude of sleep. This is the first practice I promise to share, the one that's so simple you'll wonder why no one told you about it. Ancient Americans didn't try to go from full daytime activation to sleep in 10 minutes. They didn't check their phones until the last second, then flip off the lights and expect immediate unconsciousness. They created a transition time, a sacred time between day and night when they gathered, told stories, shared dreams, let the days slowly fade into memory and the night gradually embrace them. You can do this too, not necessarily by sharing dreams. Though if you have family or housemates willing to try it, I highly recommend it. But by creating your own transition ritual, 30 minutes minimum before you want to sleep, dim the lights, sit or recline comfortably, no screens, no news, no problem-solving or stimulating content. Instead, reflect on your day, journal if you like, or simply sit and remember, processing what happened, acknowledging what you're feeling, giving your mind permission to start filing away the day's experiences. The ancient Americans understood something we've forgotten. The transition to sleep is sacred. It cannot be rushed. The body and mind need time to shift states, to let go of day and welcome night. When you honor this transition, when you give the time and attention it deserves, sleep comes naturally, not forced, not achieved, but simply arriving, the way night arrives when you stop fighting against it. The dream sharing concludes. The fires are banked but not extinguished. They'll burn low through the night, providing warmth and a small amount of light. The children are sent to their sleeping platforms, wrapped in furs and woven blankets. And Sky Woman's daughter lies down beside her husband on their own platform. But she doesn't immediately try to sleep. Instead, she lies there in the dim firelight, listening to the soft sounds of the Longhouse settling, the breathing of her grandchildren, the creaking of bark walls in the wind, the occasional pop of a coal in the fire. She's not anxious about sleep, not worried about whether it will come. She's simply waiting, allowing, trusting that sleep will arrive in its own time. And she's doing one more thing, one more practice that ancient Americans across the continent shared, that modern sleep science has validated as profoundly important. She's setting an intention for her dreams, not controlling them, not trying to force specific content, but gently asking, as she drifts towards sleep, show me what I need to see, teach me what I need to learn, speak to me in a language of symbols and visions. This is dream incubation, and it works. Studies have shown that people who set intentions before sleep are more likely to dream about the topics they focused on, more likely to find solutions to problems, more likely to wake with insights that their conscious mind couldn't access. The Haudenosaunee didn't need studies. They had generations of experience. They knew that how you enter sleep shapes what sleep brings you. Sky Woman's daughter's breathing slows. Her body relaxes completely into the sleeping platform. The sound of the longhouse becomes distant, dreamlike, and she sleeps. Deep, trust-filled sleep. Sleep that knows it's valued, that knows tomorrow's evening will bring another opportunity to share what the night reveals, that knows the dreams are doorways to wisdom and healing and connection with the unseen world. This is what we've lost, this reverence for dreams, this communal honoring of the inner world, this understanding that sleep isn't just blank unconsciousness, but a journey into meaning. But you can reclaim it tonight by honoring your own dreams, whatever they are, by giving them attention, by trusting that even the strange, confusing, frightening dreams are trying to tell you something important. The Haudenosaunee sleep in their longhouse now. Across the centuries, their dreams weaving through the darkness like smoke rising from sacred fires. And you can sleep too, knowing that your dreams matter, that the night has wisdom to offer, that you're part of an ancient practice of attending to the inner world. Now let's travel southwest and back in time, to around 1100 CE, to the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde in what is now Colorado. We're joining the ancestral Puebloans, the people you might know as the Anasazi, though that name comes from their enemies and means ancient enemy. So we use the name they would recognize. The ancient ones, the Puebloans, were in one of the great cliff dwellings built into the south-facing alcove of a sandstone canyon. The sun has set, and the desert sky is transforming into something that modern city dwellers almost never see. A sky absolutely filled with stars. Picture yourself climbing the ladder to the rooftop of one of the multi-story buildings. The air is cooling rapidly, the way desert air does after sunset. The stone under your hand still holds a day's warmth, but the breeze carries a chill of the coming night. And above you is a sky so thick with stars that it looks like someone spilled milk across black cloth. The Milky Way is a river of light cutting across the heavens. You can see planets, satellites of Jupiter, the Andromeda Galaxy. Light from stars that died before humans existed is reaching your eyes right now. The ancestral Puebloans didn't have telescopes, didn't have astrophysics, but they watched the sky every single night, and they knew it intimately. The movement of constellations through seasons, the phases of the moon, the paths of planets, the rare events like eclipses and comets. And they wove the sky knowledge into everything. Their buildings aligned with solar and lunar events. Their ceremonies marked astronomical occurrences. Their stories explain the stars in ways that modern science is only now recognizing contain actual encoded data about celestial mechanics. But here's what matters for our story tonight. They watched the sky not just for practical reasons, not just for calendrical knowledge. They watched the sky because it changed how they thought, how they felt, how they understood their place in the cosmos. Let me introduce you to someone. We'll call him Star Watcher, though that's a translation, and probably doesn't capture the full meaning of his name in his own language. He's a young man, perhaps 20, learning the sky knowledge from his elders. Tonight, he's on the rooftop with his grandfather, and they're watching the stars emerge one by one as darkness deepens. "Tell me the story of the seven sisters," the grandfather says, pointing to the Pleiades cluster rising in the east. Star Watcher recites the story he's heard since childhood, about seven sisters who climbed into the sky to escape a pursuing bear, how they were transformed into stars but remained together, eternal and unchanging. But tonight, the grandfather adds something new. Watch them carefully through the year. He says, notice how they move. Notice when they're visible and when they're not. Notice how their appearance marks the planting season, the harvest season, the time of ceremonies. This is how knowledge was passed down. Through stories, yes, but through active observation. Through night after night of sitting under the stars, training the eye to see patterns, training the mind to track changes, training the soul to feel connected to something vast and eternal. And here's what modern research has discovered. This practice of sky watching, especially in darkness without artificial light, has profound effects on psychology and well-being. When you regularly expose yourself to the night sky, to the vastness of space and the enormity of cosmic time scales, something shifts in your brain. The default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for self-focused thought and worry, becomes less active. The sense of existential anxiety that plagues so many modern people diminishes. Why? Because you can't maintain the illusion that your problems are cosmically important when you're staring at light that travel for millions of years to reach your eyes. You can't stay trapped in your small concerns when you're confronted with the scale of the universe. The ancestral Puebloans didn't know about the default mode network, but they knew that sky watching brought peace, brought perspective, brought a sense of being part of something larger and more enduring than individual human dramas. Star Watcher and his grandfather sit in comfortable silence now, just watching, just being present with the slow wheel of the stars across the sky. And this is the second practice I promise to share, the one that changes not just your sleep, but your entire relationship with anxiety and worry. Before you sleep, if weather permits, step outside. Or, if not outside, at least look out a window away from artificial lights. And spend 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, looking at the sky, not checking your phone for constellation apps, not taking pictures, just looking, just being present with something vast and ancient and indifferent to your concerns in the most liberating way. If it's cloudy, that's fine too. Watch the clouds. Or simply stand in darkness and feel the night air on your skin. This practice resets something in your nervous system. It reminds your body and brain that you are small, which sounds negative but is actually profoundly calming. Your problems are small too. Your worries are temporary. The universe continues regardless. And when you come back inside, when you lie down to sleep, you carry that perspective with you. The anxieties that seemed overwhelming 10 minutes ago now seem manageable, temporary, not worth losing sleep over. The ancestral Puebloans did this every night. And while they certainly had problems, drought and conflict and crop failures and all the challenges of human existence, they didn't have the epidemic of anxiety disorders that plague modern people, because they had perspective, built into their daily rhythm, reinforced every night by the simple act of watching stars. Hours pass. Star Watcher has returned inside now, to the small room his family occupies in the cliff dwelling. The room is dark, truly dark, with only the faintest glow from embers in the central hearth. He lies down on a woven mat, covered with a rabbit fur blanket his mother made, and he thinks about the stars he's just been watching, about the stories his grandfather told, about the vastness of the cosmos and his own small place within it. And this perspective, this sense of cosmic scale, does something important. It makes his own life feel less pressured, less urgent, less demanding of constant vigilance and worry. He can let go, can surrender to sleep, because the stars will be there tomorrow night. The cosmos will continue. He doesn't have to hold it all together through force of will. This is the wisdom the sky teaches. The wisdom of letting go, of trusting that some things are larger than you, will persist regardless of you, will continue whether you're awake or asleep. Modern people, sealed in light-polluted cities, staring at screens until the moment they try to sleep, have lost this wisdom, have lost a regular reminder that they are not the center of the universe, that their problems are not cosmically significant, that it's okay, more than okay, necessary, to let go and rest. The ancestral Puebloans knew better, and their sleep was deeper for it. Star Watcher's breathing slows. His body relaxes completely, and he drifts into sleep carrying images of stars, of vast dark spaces between lights, of the eternal slow turning of the celestial sphere. He doesn't check whether he's comfortable enough, doesn't worry about whether he'll sleep through the night, doesn't anxiously calculate how many hours he has until sunrise. He just sleeps, trusting the darkness, trusting the cosmos, trusting that sleep, like the stars, is part of a larger pattern that requires no effort from him, only acceptance. This is what we've forgotten, this cosmic perspective, this regular reminder of our place in something vast and ancient, but you can remember it tonight by stepping outside, by looking up, by spending just 5 minutes with the night sky. And when you return to bed, carry that vastness with you. Let it hold your worries, your anxieties, your small human concerns. The stars don't sleep, but you can, and the stars will still be there, wheeling through their ancient patterns when you wake. Now we travel far north, to the Arctic, to a time perhaps 200 years ago, though the practices we're about to explore are far more ancient than that. We're with an Inuit family in their winter home, a substantial structure made of sod and whalebone, partially underground for insulation. Outside, it's the deep of winter, the time of polar night when the sun doesn't rise at all for weeks or months. This is profound darkness, darkness so complete that modern people can barely imagine it. Darkness that lasts not just through one night, but through dozens of nights in succession. And in this darkness, the Inuit discovered something remarkable, something that I believe is the most important practice of all, the one that has the power to completely transform how you experience sleeplessness. Let me introduce you to a woman we'll call Nuliak, a grandmother, a keeper of stories, a person who has lived through perhaps 60 Arctic winters. It's the middle of what would be night, if there were such a distinction, though in the polar darkness, time is measured differently, tracked by other rhythms than the sun's rising and setting. Nuliak wakes. She's been sleeping for several hours on the raised sleeping platform, warm under caribou hides and seal skins. But now she's awake, and she knows from experience that she won't fall back asleep immediately. And here's the crucial part. She doesn't try to. She doesn't lie there anxiously willing herself back to sleep, doesn't toss and turn, doesn't start worrying about how tired she'll be tomorrow. Instead, she does what Inuit people have done for thousands of years. She gets up. She adds a bit of seal oil to the lamp, the kullik, a shallow stone bowl that provides both light and heat. The flame grows, casting warm golden light through the interior of the winter home. And then she sits, quietly, in the gentle lamplight, and she does nothing, not nothing productive, not nothing measurable, but nothing in the sense of no agenda, no task, no achievement. She's just present with the darkness, with the quiet, with her own thoughts and feelings as they arise and pass. Sometimes she thinks about her day. Sometimes she thinks about people she's loved who've died. Sometimes she thinks about nothing in particular, her mind simply wandering to the landscape of memory and imagination. Sometimes she works on small tasks, repairing a tool, sewing a piece of clothing, but slowly, meditatively, without hurry or pressure. Sometimes she prays or sings softly to herself, or simply sits and listens to the profound quiet of the Arctic night. And after an hour, sometimes 2 hours, she feels it, the pull back toward sleep, the natural tiredness returning, and she lies down again, extinguishes the lamp, and sleeps until morning. This is the third practice, the most important one, the one that has the power to transform your relationship with sleeplessness forever. The Inuit and many other indigenous American peoples didn't have a concept of insomnia as a disorder. They had segmented sleep, sleeping in 2 or 3 periods through the night with wakeful intervals between, and they considered this natural, normal, even valuable. The wakeful hours weren't a problem to be fixed. They were a gift, a time for reflection, for prayer, for quiet work, for being with oneself in a way the busy day didn't allow. And modern sleep research has discovered something astonishing. This segmented sleep pattern is actually natural for humans before artificial light and industrial schedules. This is how most people slept. But more than that, trying to force 8 continuous hours of sleep, treating middle-of-the-night waking as a disorder, creating anxiety around sleeplessness, this is what creates chronic insomnia. The insomnia isn't the waking. The insomnia is the anxiety about the waking. The Inuit knew better. When they woke in the middle of the night, they accepted it, welcomed it even, used the time for the quiet reflection and spiritual practice that their souls needed. And because they didn't fight the waking, didn't stress about it, didn't lie there anxious about lost sleep, the waking was peaceful and sleep returned naturally when it was ready. This is the practice I want you to embrace, the one that might change everything. Tonight, if you wake in the middle of the night and can't fall back asleep within 10 or 15 minutes, don't fight it. Don't lie there forcing and trying and worrying. Get up, light a candle or a small lamp, sit quietly, and just be with the darkness, with the silence, with whatever arises in your mind and heart. Read something peaceful if you like. Write in a journal. Do some gentle stretching. Make a cup of herbal tea. Pray or meditate if that's your practice. But don't try to be productive. Don't check email or do work or solve problems. This isn't time for that. This is sacred time. Time between sleeps. Time for the soul to breathe. And after an hour or so, when you feel genuinely ready, return to bed. Trust that sleep will come again when it's ready. This is what the Inuit did, what countless indigenous peoples did, what humans did for thousands of years before we decided that middle-of-the-night waking was a problem. And when you make this shift, when you stop fighting the waking and start accepting it, something miraculous happens. The anxiety dissolves. The sleep problems resolve themselves. And you discover that those quiet middle hours of the night are some of the most peaceful, profound, spiritually rich times you'll ever experience. Nuliak sits in her pool of lamplight, sewing a new pair of sealskin boots, her hands moving with the practiced ease of decades of similar work. Around her, her family sleeps. Outside, the Arctic wind whispers across the snow, and she is at peace, completely, utterly at peace, not wishing she were asleep, not anxious about tomorrow, just here, in this moment, in this gentle darkness, in this sacred time between sleeps. After perhaps an hour and a half, she feels the pull, the tiredness returning. She sets aside her sewing, extinguishes a lamp, and returns to the sleeping platform. And she sleeps again, deep, restful sleep, the second sleep that carries her through to morning. She doesn't know that 200 years in the future, sleep scientists will discover that this segmented sleep pattern is actually optimal for emotional processing and creative problem solving. She doesn't know that the hour or two of quiet wakefulness between sleeps allows the brain to consolidate memories and process emotions in ways that continuous sleep doesn't allow. She just knows it works. It's always worked. For her ancestors, for every Inuit person who's ever lived in the Arctic darkness. And it can work for you too. if you let it. We've journeyed through 3 very different ancient American cultures, 3 different relationships with night and darkness and sleep. And while their specific practices varied, there's a common thread running through all of them. They didn't fight the night. They worked with it. They honored it. They trusted it. Let me bring this wisdom home now. Let me show you how you can integrate these ancient practices into your modern life tonight, right now. First, the Haudenosaunee practice of transition and dream honoring. Starting tonight, create a transition ritual before sleep. 30 minutes minimum, preferably an hour. During this time, dim the lights, all of them. Use candles if you can, or warm tone lamps on the lowest setting. Let your eyes adjust to dimness. Let your brain register that day is ending. Reflect on your day. Not anxiously, not problem solving, but simply acknowledging what happened, what you accomplished, what you struggled with, what you're grateful for. You can journal this or just sit and think it through. If you remember your dreams from the previous night, write them down or speak them aloud. Give them attention. Don't worry about interpreting them perfectly. Just honor them as potentially meaningful. And before you lie down, set a gentle intention for your dreams. Show me what I need to see. Or help me process what I experienced today. Or simply speak to me in symbols I can understand. This transition ritual does several things. It allows your nervous system to gradually downshift from day to night. It processes the day's experiences, so they don't ambush you when you're trying to sleep. It honors your inner world, which makes your brain produce richer, more memorable dreams. And most importantly, it creates a boundary, a sacred space, a time when you're neither in the day nor in the sleep, but in the threshold between. And this threshold time is where magic happens. Second, the ancestral Puebloan practice of cosmic perspective. Before you begin your transition ritual, or as part of it, step outside if you can. Look at the sky. Just 5 minutes. That's all. If it's a clear night, look at the stars. Not to identify constellations, not to take pictures, just to look, to witness, to feel the vastness. If it's cloudy, that's fine too. Look at the clouds. Or the moon, if it's visible. Or simply stand in the darkness and feel the night air on your skin. If you can't go outside, look out a window. Or even just imagine the night sky, the vast cosmos continuing above you whether you can see it or not. This practice resets your nervous system. It reminds you that you are small, which is liberating rather than diminishing. It provides perspective that makes your worries feel less overwhelming, less urgent, less cosmically significant. And it reconnects you with something ancient and enormous and indifferent in the most peaceful way. The universe doesn't care whether you slept well last night. The stars will shine regardless. And there's tremendous freedom in that. And third, the Inuit practice of accepting middle-of-the-night waking. This is the hardest one for most modern people because it requires completely shifting your relationship with sleeplessness. If you wake in the middle of the night and can't fall back asleep within 10 or 15 minutes, I want you to try something radical. Get up. Don't lie there fighting. Don't stay in bed tossing and turning. Get up. Light a candle or a small lamp. Make the space gently lit, but not bright. And then just be for as long as it takes. Read something peaceful. Write in a journal. Do some gentle stretching or yoga. Make herbal tea. Pray or meditate. Work on a creative project if inspiration strikes. But don't check email. Don't do work. Don't solve problems. Don't scroll through feeds. Don't do anything stimulating or stressful. This is sacred time. Time between sleeps. Time that your ancestors knew and valued. Time for your soul to breathe. And here's what's crucial. Don't watch the clock. Don't calculate how much sleep you're losing. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just be here in this moment. in this gentle darkness, in this peaceful, productive, spiritually rich time. After an hour or so, you'll feel it, the pull back towards sleep, the natural tiredness returning. And when you feel it, go back to bed. Trust that sleep will come. This practice dissolves sleep anxiety because you're no longer fighting against wakefulness. You're accepting it, using it, finding value in it. And paradoxically, when you stop desperately trying to sleep, when you give yourself permission to be awake without stress, sleep comes much more easily. These three practices, transition ritual, cosmic perspective, accepting wakefulness, they're simple, almost too simple. You might be thinking, that's it? That's the ancient wisdom? Yes, that's it, because the wisdom isn't in complex techniques or elaborate protocols. The wisdom is in a fundamental shift of relationship, from fighting the night to honoring it, from fearing darkness to trusting it, from treating sleep as something to achieve to treating it as something to allow. Ancient Americans slept better than we do not because they had better beds or quieter environments or fewer stressors. They slept better because they had a healthier relationship with night, with darkness, with the natural rhythms of sleep and wake. And you can have that relationship too, starting tonight. Do you feel it? Can you sense how different this approach is from the desperate, anxious, controlling relationship most modern people have with sleep? The ancient Americans didn't try to sleep. They created conditions for sleep and then allowed it, trusted it, welcomed it when it came, and didn't stress when it was delayed. And you can do the same. And so, our journey through ancient American nights comes to its gentle close. We've walked with the Haudenosaunee, sharing dreams around longhouse fires, honoring the messages from the inner world. We've watched stars of the ancestral Puebloans, feeling our smallness in the vast cosmos, finding peace in perspective. We've sat with the Inuit in the sacred middle hours, accepting wakefulness, trusting the rhythm of segmented sleep. And we've discovered that what ancient Americans did at night was trust the darkness, trust their dreams, trust the rhythm of waking and sleeping. Trust that night is not enemy, but teacher. That sleep is not achievement, but allowance. So tonight, as you lie here in your own darkness, remember that you're part of an ancient pattern. Humans have been doing this for thousands of years, lying down at day's end, surrendering to night, allowing sleep to come. You're not alone in this darkness. Your ancestors are here with you. The Haudenosaunee, dreaming their dreams. The Puebloans, watching their stars. The Inuit, accepting their wakeful hours. All of them trusting the night. And you can too. Feel yourself settling now into the darkness, not fighting it, not fearing it, just allowing it. Your transition is complete. Your perspective is cosmic. Your relationship with wakefulness has shifted. You don't need to force sleep. You just need to stop preventing it. And you're doing that now, letting go bit by bit. Your breathing is slowing. Your muscles are releasing. Your mind is drifting toward that threshold between waking and sleeping. And it doesn't matter which side you're on. Waking is okay. Sleeping is okay. The threshold is okay. All of it is part of the natural rhythm. The ancient Americans sleep beside you across time. Their wisdom holds you in the darkness, and you can rest now in the trust they knew, in the peace they felt, in the sacred, gentle darkness. Sleep or wake or drift between. All is well, all is natural, all is as it should be. The night has wisdom for you, but only if you're still, only if you're quiet, only if you let go. So let go, dear friend. Trust the darkness. Trust your ancestors. Trust the ancient wisdom that lives in your bones. Sleep, sleep, sleep,